women who have sex with men before marriage are sluts, and men who are having sex with women before marriage are slut makers.
What's up, guys? Nuance Bro checking in. We're here in Los Angeles, California at the Amber Rose Slutwalk. Let's go out and talk to people, see what's going on. All right. So why are we out here today?
We're here just to empower women, empower ourselves. This is our body. We can own it and fuck what anyone thinks.
Yes, against
stand together.
everything that women are going through in today's
culture.
And what are we trying to achieve specifically today? Like anything specific?
I think more just like empowerment and yeah, for sure, awareness.
Are there any particular issues or anything that's happened recently that's brought you out today?
I think honestly, who the person is sitting in the White House. For me personally, having gone through what this walk is about and him being there and being in a place of power and just showing women across the world.
Good example, so we are that example today.
And what specifically about Trump? Like, I'm assuming you're referring to Trump. Yeah. What has he done specifically that's brought you out here?
His crimes against women and not having to answer for him. And Bill Cosby's in prison and he's an 80-plus-year-old black man, and there's a white man who's committed even more crimes.
Like which one specifically?
Yes.
But that's not, I mean, is that something Trump did like himself? Or?
I think, and just everything, the trial, he stands with these people in his actions, and he's dividing our country right now.
He doesn't stand up for the people who need him to stand up for them.
Okay, so no like specific allegations against Trump or?
No, there's specific allegations.
He's had many allegations. We all know them. Grabbing pussy, his way he talks about women in many quotes, it doesn't matter.
He's allowed it. He's allowed everyone to get away with talking bad about people and disrespecting everyone.
You mentioned Kavanaugh though specifically, and there have been allegations against him. What do you like? What do you make of that whole situation? Because it looks like he's going to be confirmed today.
Yeah. That's why we're out here. That's why we're celebrating women, and that's why we're celebrating our rights, and we have
survivors for sure. Believe survivors no matter what.
Yeah.
Sure, but how do we know they're survivors until we have the evidence to prove that they are? For example, a lot of people don't believe someone like Juanita Broaddrick against Bill Clinton, or even the allegations against Keith Ellison.
The people, it doesn't matter. Women, if they speak up and have a voice, it should be heard and it should be acknowledged, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, not shut down, not questioned, not to the nth degree. There's been too much culture that's developed that just takes our voice.
Prove it. We're gonna walk now.
Sure. I mean, but what do you think about the case of Emmett Till specifically? Do you know the case about Emmett Till?
Yeah, that's absolutely fucked up.
Wasn't that someone who lied about the?
The white woman who she fucking lied, and there's proof that she's lied, and she still just gets to live her fucking life, and no one's prosecuting her.
So doesn't that kind of go against the believe all women, even if there's evidence?
I think that goes against racism. I think that goes into
believe women when they say that they survived a rape.
We listen to, and we want to walk.
You can listen, but okay. By the way, guys, this video is almost probably going to be demonetized, so if you want to support more work like this and me doing videos that most likely will be demonetized, please go to www.patreon.com/nuancebro if you want to support the channel. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell for future videos. Remember me from last time?
Yes, I was definitely here, and I'm here again.
Sure. So are we here for any other reason than last time, or what's going on?
I mean, basically simple. I mean, I'm a Christian. I'm out here to preach about just the gospel of Jesus Christ and how the fact that, if you ask for it, you deserve it.
Ask for what and deserve what?
These women out here are coming out here and dressing in such a way to promote sexual imaginations. So, they're the ones at the end of the day, sometimes they're the ones at the end of the day that it's going to come down on.
Sure, so does that necessarily justify if a man takes an action against a woman simply because she's dressed like that? Maybe she's married and she wants to dress like that for her husband or a certain event or something, or maybe she just feels like dressing like that. Would that justify a man's actions in raping her against her will?
Both parties are wrong.
Okay, but isn't one worse than the other necessarily? Like, don't you think rape is worse than dressing provocatively?
Both are wrong.
I know, but there's different degrees of wrongness, right? For example, if you steal an apple from a baby, or if you murder that baby, wouldn't one be worse than the other, and shouldn't one have a higher punishment than the other?
Agreed, but I believe that both are wrong.
I mean, I'm just asking if you think one's more wrong than the other.
I'm just saying both are wrong. That's just my point.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
So why are we out here today?
We're here to take the word slut. We're going to take that stigma away because it should be an everyday word. It shouldn't have the meaning that it has. And we're all here because of what Kanye did to Amber Rose. So let's remember that. You remember he slut shamed her.
Yeah.
So that's why she started the Slutwalk. So we're just here in support.
And what are we trying to achieve other than, just the word? Is there anything we're out here specifically for other than what you just mentioned?
Well, we're here just for women, for support, to dress how we want, act how we want. Men have done it for years, and y'all aren't called sluts. So I think just making that an everyday word and taking that bad stigma away from the word, maybe one day we can make a difference.
Any thoughts you'd like to add on to that?
Well, I believe that, you know what? If you're judgmental, you probably don't like this, but stop judging people for how they dress or how they feel or how they look, because you don't know what happened in that person's past. So stop judging regardless. And to be a slut and called slut, for us doesn't mean anything. We have been called slut before and we've never done anything like that. So we're here to celebrate being called a slut and be happy and no problems.
Is there anything happening, though, in contemporary life or in the culture at large that you find problematic or an issue that you're also out here walking for in addition to the other things?
No, I'm just here to support because I don't live in the past. The past is the past, the future, focus on the future. I came from a country that is Argentina. We don't have this kind of problem. We don't judge people. We don't care. So America, wake up.
All good. All right, so why are we out here today?
To protest rape culture. Today's a pretty important day considering the vote in Senate for Kavanaugh, whether or not he's going to get the court seat.
And I don't know which one you want to talk about more, Kavanaugh or rape culture, and they kind of mix in together, I guess. But what are your... Yeah, what do you think specifically about the allegations against Kavanaugh and like the whole process and the evidence process, the FBI investigation? What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
that investigation was a joke. Like, you can't have a thorough, like 5 days, and and they didn't interview enough people.
And didn't interview his own roommate, like his own roommate in college. Like, really, you're not gonna interview him, who publicly said, like, I saw him blackout drunk on several occasions. And so regardless of the rape allegations, if you are willing to lie under oath, and we have proof, we have witnesses to him lying under oath, that is enough to mean he shouldn't get the court seat, point blank.
And it's not even like if he didn't do it, like the way he behaved, the way he handled himself over, the hearing, it was just despicable. Like a Supreme Court judge should not be like behaving, like after 20 minutes he was shouting, yelling, like that's not...
Well, I mean,
he was acting like a child.
Let's move here for a second. But don't you think it's kind of, if you do believe, you honestly believe that the allegations against you are false, don't you think it's kind of...
Right.
I know, but
investigate me.
No, but I mean, don't you think that you would be like really angry too, that if like your entire life was destroyed, people are removing you from like being a professor at Harvard, potentially your daughter's basketball team or whatever, and all these other things? Don't you think it's kind of justified that their entire life was ruined? Also, the way Christine Ford was treated.
Her life's being ruined.
I know exactly. That's what I was saying. Like Christine Ford's life was also ruined because they actually put out her information without her consent, and they leaked it out to the media. And that's why she had to go to Congress. They even offered to fly people out to her in California, but her lawyers, I guess, just didn't tell her about that, and they kind of exploited her.
Yeah.
Well, because I would be upset too if that happened, but there's a way to handle yourself. Even when you're upset, like handle it with like grace and poise, which is like Dr. Ford, she did, and him, like just the way he behaved, the way he just was irrational. Like, I don't know.
We also have to remember Ford was the only one that was present at the hearing, but there were other allegations, there were other witnesses, there were other women that claimed that the same thing happened to them. So we're not sitting here saying that, oh, it's all on Ford and it's all on her. There's evidence backing up her statements.
And what evidence is that specifically?
There were at least 2 other women that said the same thing happened to them. His previous roommates...
Well, it wasn't the same thing. They didn't allege the same thing.
Sexual assault, whatever. Sexual assault, sexual harassment came from him to other women, and his own roommates that he housed with in college said that he definitely was blackout drunk. So...
Does blacking out drunk mean that you sexually assault people?
But he said he never blacked out drunk when he was in college.
He said he drank too much.
No, he said he liked beer, but he had never blacked out drunk ever in college.
But he said, like, sometimes I drank too much.
but he said he's never blacked out. And then we know that was false.
But I mean, if we're not going to trust his best friend as far as the allegations are concerned, well, how can we trust him about, his accounts as far as Kavanaugh blacking out 35 years ago?
I mean, regardless, it's still other instances happen, and he was still caught lying under oath. So several times.
It's just the way he handled himself. Like it wasn't okay. And I know people, I don't know. I understand. No.
Don't start crying and screaming like a petulant child in the court of law.
Right, like the way
Jesus Christ.
Well, it wasn't a court, it was the Congress, in front of Congress. But, I mean, as far as the other allegations, even Christine Ford's allegations, none of them were corroborated even by the people that they said were there at the time, allegedly. Isn't that kind of concerning if we're going to miss all the facts and even their own witnesses say it didn't happen?
So, but there wasn't a full investigation. It was a 1-week investigation.
Well, the Anita Hill investigation was 3 days, and they still made.
in 1991.
That still wasn't very fair, was it?
And it was
Nor was
1991.
Juanita Broderick. Like, let's point that out as well.
Yeah, I mean, the media never gives Juanita Broderick any credit whatsoever. I mean, but her allegations were actually corroborated.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to corroborate sexual assaults, point blank.
So why are we out here today?
We are here to support women and to fight rape culture and to stand up for the victims and the survivors and, just for all the future of women. And it's just ridiculous. We're still fighting the same thing that people were fighting 100 years ago, and it hasn't changed. So we're here to try to change it.
But there's been some positive developments, right? For example, I think since, 1980 or even the 1970s, rape rates have actually dropped by 85%, something like that. So that's a positive direction, right?
Positive, but it should have dropped 1,000,000%. There should be nothing, and we shouldn't be putting rapists on our Supreme Court and in our freaking White House. I mean, it's just...
You're referring to Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court? Sure. So what are your thoughts about the specific allegations against him, the FBI investigation, and all the evidence that's been brought forth?
I think that we have to believe her, and I think the fact that we're even questioning it is ridiculous. And I think that, for people who have never been through that before, especially for maybe a man who's never experienced that before, they don't believe her. But that moment impacted her entire life and determined who she is as a person. And the reason he doesn't remember it is because it didn't impact him at all. And he did it all the time, and it wasn't an issue for him, but it changed her entire life.
I think it was Hillary Clinton. She said, believe women up until the point that evidence shows to the contrary or something like that, because her husband was accused of a lot of things as well. You had Juanita Broderick, you had Paula Jones, and all these different people, dozens of people. He was on with, I think, Jeffrey Epstein on the Lolita Express, private jets going to the island, sleeping with underage prostitutes and things like that. So people had a lot of allegations against him, but she denies all those allegations, even though there seems to be more evidence against Bill Clinton than there does seem to be against Kavanaugh. What are your thoughts? Because the people like Christine Ford brought her, she said there were four to six people at the party, and she named a lot of them, and all of them basically don't corroborate her claims. They said there's no party that she's describing that they can think of. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, those specific things I haven't heard, but I know that the FBI investigation, based on, again, they're not going to release it to everybody, but based on what all of the senators are saying and what they're talking about it, they're like, it's basically a sham. We got an hour to review it. It was one document, and then you had to keep moving out of the room, which I think is ridiculous. So I feel like, when Trump was like, okay, yes, I approve the FBI investigation. However, here's a stipulation. However, here's a stipulation. They weren't able to do their jobs. And so here we are still questioning, what actually happened. So there is no proof to what actually happened. All we have is this poor woman's memory and how it drastically affected the rest of her life.
And again, I think those other people don't remember it or don't recall it because it didn't happen to them. Yep. I wouldn't remember a party I went to 25 plus years ago.
35.
Whatever. If nothing happened to me at that party. Mm-hmm. She remembers it because it changed her life. And anyone that's experienced something like that knows what that's like.
I mean, a lot of things that she made other claims. For example, the testimony that corroborates her claim the most is that she went to the psychologist in 2012 with her husband. And even though Kavanaugh wasn't specifically named, usually psychologists don't put the specific names anyways. But That was the claim, and she said they went to couples counseling because there was a door that they wanted to install, like a second door at their property. But then it was shown that that second door was actually installed way earlier than 2012, and that they weren't actually going to that psychologist for that reason. So it seems like she misremembered that. And actually, when they asked her about the the lie detector test, the polygraph test, the prosecutor person at the Congress asked her if she has ever helped anyone with polygraph tests, and she said no, but then evidence came out later from her ex-boyfriend that she actually did help somebody with a polygraph test who was being interviewed for a job at the FBI. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that it goes to show that she's a scared woman, and she didn't want to come out about this. She was trying to be anonymous forever until the very end. You know, she went to her senator and was like, this is what happened to me. I feel like someone should know about this. I don't want to be named. She didn't come forward being like, hello, here I am. Like, that's not how she came about it.
What are your thoughts on that? Because like she wanted to remain confidential. She didn't want her life being ruined, and now her life is ruined and everything. Really they really treated her horribly. I mean, you had the media leaking out her info. You had, I mean, only a few people had this information. It was her lawyers, Dianne Feinstein, and Congresswoman Eshoo. And what do you think should happen to the people who actually leaked that information out? Against her wishes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever be able to find out who it was. I mean, yes, 3-4 people knew, but their teams knew, other people knew. I just think it's really unfortunate because people are, again, victim blaming, slut shaming, saying, oh, well, like, is it true? Did it happen? She didn't want to come forward. She was just like, hey.
She chose essentially to ruin her life for the purpose of trying to protect not only women, but America as a whole.
Well, it seems like even her lawyers might have exploited her a little bit, because the chairman actually offered, they contacted her team and they said, like, we would actually like to fly someone out to you to get your statement, but it seems like she never actually even knew about that, but her lawyers might have withheld that from her. Isn't that kind of messed up?
I mean, I think it is messed up, but I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, so I can't really say, like, yeah, that was really shitty. But lawyers can be really shitty, and of course they exploit their clients. And again, she didn't want to come forward.
She was doing what she thought she was right.
Any other thoughts you guys like to add?
Just that an event like this is amazing, and just the opportunity to be here and stick up for women, and just even for a day, you know, it makes a difference.
Stop victim blaming, stop slut shaming, stop rape culture. That's why we're here, and we hope we can make a difference. I know we're just 2 people, but here we are.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
So why are we out here today?
To help, what's the word, bitch?
Support,
yes, to help support the women that's been body shamed, raped, you know, discriminated, you know, just to support everybody, support ourselves, friends. I'm here for equality. I think men have a step forward for women, in front of women. They can sleep with as many men as they want, as women as they want.
Men too, maybe.
Yeah, men too. And, you know, they're just seen as a player, or they got it like that. And then when a woman does it, she's a hoe or a slut. So, for equality.
And is there anything we're trying to achieve today?
Just to let it be known that we want to be equal, we all support each other, and women is going to stick together no matter what.
So is a part of equality is obviously, you know, fair and balanced treatment, and both, you know, hearing out both sides about things. What do you think about things like rape allegations that come out and people say believe all women and things like that? Don't you think there should also be, you know, like some deference given to men who might be potentially falsely accused?
Of course. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's about equality. I mean, it's not where I'm not just out here for women only. I mean, there's men who have, you know, people saying bad things about them too, and so it's men being raped too. It's not just women, so it's all about equality.
And is there any other reasons, like in contemporary culture, that you guys are out here? Is there anything specific, like any events that have happened in recent memory that bring you guys out here?
Well, I am a survivor of rape. I have been raped before when I was younger, and I was blamed because of the clothes that I wear. And
how old are you, by the way?
I'm 18, but I was 12. I was 12 at the time.
Oh wow.
So I feel like as a 12-year-old, I should never got judged by the clothes that I was wearing, even though they weren't revealing. A person is always going to do whatever comes to mind. If they feel like they should do it, they're going to do it. It's a choice that they make on their own.
And I mean, you can say if you're uncomfortable with this question or not, because I just think a lot of people don't get specific details out of people who are rape survivors because, you know, it might be too painful sometimes to conjure up the past and things like that. Are you comfortable talking about that?
I don't let that define who I am. I don't let that project off of me. I'm my own person. I grew past it. Like, it's in the past.
Can you describe the circumstances under which that happened? Like, do you know who did it, or like
Yes.
what? Like, how did that happen?
Yes, well, it was like I knew him. He was a family friend. And basically, I was young, so I was very gullible. And I was looking for my sister, and he took me into an abandoned house. And he knew where my sister was. It was like 10 o'clock at night. And he was just telling me, I know where your sister is. I seen her. So I believed him because I knew him. And he took me into the abandoned house, and he was threatening me. And then so like there was really nothing I could do. He was a grown man.
How old was he?
He was about 26.
Oh, wow.
And I was only 12.
And is this person in jail? Did you bring this up to?
he is.
Okay. So justice was, wow. Yeah, that's good. It's great to hear. So justice was served in that case, but you know, people here say a lot of times justice isn't served, and a lot of rapes go unreported. But I'm glad. Like, did you bring it up? How did it? You brought it to your parents?
I called the police the same night.
At 12 years old.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was with her, my best friend. I went to her house and we called the police, and then they came and investigated and stuff, and then it just went from there.
And come to find out, she's not the only one it happened to. He did it to multiple people.
They were just scared to step up.
And that's an important thing to mention, because a lot of times, you know, people won't report rapes, and you know, you can't always, you know, blame people for that because they're scared and things like that. But at the same time, you have to think of other potential victims that might come out in the future if you don't take action and report someone who did actually rape you.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely important. Is that something that you would advocate to everybody?
Yeah, it is.
I really appreciate you sharing your story. I know it could probably be tough, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, nothing.
Thank you guys so much. So why are we out here today?
Women's empowerment?
Yeah. I don't know, going on the Slutwalk?
But what are we trying to achieve today?
Our voices to be heard.
Is there anything like specifically in contemporary culture that you guys have seen that maybe inspired you to come out today?
Yeah, everything on the news every day.
Like, is there anything specific though?
I don't even, there's too many things to be specific.
Yeah. I mean,
everything that's going on with Kavanaugh.
Okay, Kavanaugh.
Absolutely. I mean, we were planning to come anyway months ago, but the Kavanaugh hearings really inspired us to, you know, make the signs that we made and to post pictures on Facebook, because that's really the way that we communicate with our whole spheres, including like parents, friends, and people that we wouldn't usually talk to about these issues. They can see us with like a sign and see that we came out here and that this is what's important to us, and maybe they'll rethink it.
And what about the specific allegations in the Kavanaugh case and the FBI investigation and all the, you know, corroboration and everything? Like, what are your thoughts on the specifics of the case?
I mean, I think it's really telling that the third accuser, the woman who had a huge record of, she has all these security clearances from different organizations within the government, and we didn't even hear anything about her allegations. They were totally swept under the rug. We only heard about the first accuser, which is the one who was invited to be interviewed in front of Congress, and I just think it's really telling that we didn't even hear anything from this third accuser.
I mean, we heard it through like third-party channels like the media and Avenatti, her lawyer, and everything. But why do you think that they dismissed that? Why do you think they dismissed that? But they actually paid more attention to the Ford and even a little bit the Ramirez allegations, but not Swetnick.
I mean, I think it was easy for them to they had other things to discuss. It was dramatic enough to just discuss the first accuser and the fact that there were other accusers. And they were kind of able to just, I don't know why the liberal media didn't continue to press on the fact that, hey, there's this Swetnick character that has all of these security clearances, more credibility than Kavanaugh, and we didn't even hear from her. I don't know why the liberal media didn't cover that.
Well, isn't it because a lot of the things she said actually contradicted things she said in her sworn statement, for example? And then she also had ex-boyfriends who came out and said, like, no, like, this is like ridiculous, and she also abused me and this and that and all that, the other thing. And then she also I think it was, she also had a lot of cases where she was claiming sexual assault and engaging in civil suits constantly. Like she would actually brag to people that she would engage in lawsuits just to extort money out of people. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that would explain why the liberal media didn't go into that, but I actually didn't see, because I tend to watch both just to see what everybody is taking in and kind of figure out where people are coming from who disagree with me, and I didn't hear anything about any of that.
Did you watch her NBC interview, for example? I think it was like one of the only interviews she did on television.
I saw parts of it.
So, I mean, she walked back a lot of their statements in her sworn affidavit where she actually swore under penalty of felony that all these things happened, and she actually walked back. So she said at first he drugged people like with the punch bowl, and then he said, oh, well, I just saw him around the punch bowl. And then, at first when the accusation first came out, it was that Kavanaugh would engage in gang rapes, but then she said no, she would just kind of see him at these parties and sometimes in a crowd that she thinks most likely that he would have been part of gang rapes, but she can't confirm that he participated in any gang rape on her.
So I read her initial statement that she signed, the written statement that she signed under penalty of perjury, and everything that she was alleging was illustrative of what she observed, and it was very carefully written, and everything that I saw in that interview was exactly along the same lines. I think that being at a party where this is going on and being one of the men that's in a group of friends who are drugging women and gang raping them that is indicative of the type of person that you are. The fact that there's no video of him gang raping anybody doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
Well, it's not just video, but like even the witnesses that people like Ford and Ramirez brought up, they all like don't corroborate her claims. Like the people that they named as witnesses themselves.
That's not what I've seen. Yeah.
Well, for example, she named PJ Smith. She named her best friend.
Kavanaugh's friends.
No. But even
Wait,
her.
I'm confused. Is this an interview or is this just a platform for you to just?
No, I'm trying to ask questions because I'm just trying to get how people think about these things. So she named her what's her name? Her best friend Kaiser, Leland Kaiser.
What is this for? Where are you guys from?
It's a YouTube channel. So why are we out here today?
Well, this is our second year for the Slut Walk. So we're out here talking to people to understand why do they want to be proud to be a slut? What's good about it? So our second year here. We were here last year.
I think the reasoning would be that they don't want to be shamed for dressing how they want or, kind of doing the same things that men would do. If they have sex casually with women, they think that they shouldn't be shamed for having sex casually with men.
Well, they are trying to normalize being a slut, right? But they don't realize that it will never be normal. People are not going to, men don't want sluts. A real man would never marry a slut to be his wife and the mother of his children. But they know that is wrong, but they're trying to make society accept it as a norm. And that's a problem.
And how do you define slut? Because I know people have different definitions of slut. I have my own definition of slut. What would you define as slut?
Women who are having sex with men and they're not married to them.
So anyone who has sex outside of marriage in your mind is a slut?
Absolutely.
So even if they've had a boyfriend for like 5 or 10 years and they're pretty sure that they're going to marry that guy, that's not a slut. I mean, that is a slut in your mind.
If they've been together for 4 or 5 years, they're not going to get married.
Well, what makes you say that?
Because men don't marry women, for the most part. They don't marry women that they can have sex with already. They think, why should I marry a woman like that?
Isn't that weird? Because you're saying people don't marry women that they don't have sex with, but you're saying if they have sex before marriage, they're a slut. So doesn't that mean we're all marrying sluts in that case? Most men.
Women who have sex with men before marriage are sluts, and men who are having sex with women before marriage are slut makers.
I know, but the thing is, you were saying that you're saying that no man marries a woman unless they have sex with them first, so that 4 to 5 year thing wouldn't even make sense. But there are cases that, Ben Shapiro, I'm sure, I don't know if his wife had sex before marriage, Steven Crowder, they were both virgins until marriage. But what are your thoughts on that?
There are men and women who are getting married who've never had sex. They're doing it the right way. But those who are doing it before marriage, having sex before marriage, are sluts.
But I'm saying even in those cases where they've been together for 4 or 5 years and they're probably going to get married, but before they're married they have sex, you're saying those women are still sluts?
Any woman or man, any woman who has sex before marriage is a slut.
I guess I have a different definition. I would say a woman that has just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Indiscriminate sex, just like constantly, casually, with different men all the time. Like they probably had sex with maybe over 100 men in their lifetime. I think that would be more in the realm of stuff. But I think a woman who's been in, mostly, they've had sex mostly in their like long-term relationships and things like that. I wouldn't consider that a slut.
But
personally.
if the man didn't consider that to be a slut, why doesn't he marry her right away? Why keep her in a relationship for years without marrying her? If he truly loved her, he would marry her. It's more about the sex than it is about the woman.
Well, I think sometimes it's financial. Sometimes you still want to see if you're fully compatible with that person. Some people are in relationships for 3 years and they find out, oh, wow, maybe this person isn't right for me. Maybe this isn't the decision I want to make right away. Maybe they started off too young and they don't want to make a decision when they're too naive and young, and they want to wait until they're maybe like 25 or something.
No, what has happened is they had sex before marriage while they're together, and that feeling, that newness and excitement wears off, and they realize this is not the woman I want to be with, but because they don't feel sexually toward her anymore the way they felt when they first met. That's why you should get married first.
But isn't that actually a case you're making for why you should have sex first with the woman before you get married? Because you want to see if all the compatibility is there, including sexual compatibility.
Sex is not love. Sex is, the only purpose of sex is to make a baby.
It's an aspect of love, though.
No,
it's an aspect.
Not at all.
No, you wouldn't have a baby with someone that you don't love. Isn't that ideal? You would only want to have a baby with someone you love.
That's
and
why
sex is an aspect of making that
That's
baby.
why you don't have sex before marriage, so you get to know each other and see if this is the person you want to be with.
Yes, but an aspect of getting to know someone is also the sexual aspect as well, is it not?
You don't know anyone if you have sex with them first.
No, not first, but let's say you date, and then let's say you even date for like a year, and then afterwards you're pretty, sure about this person, but you also want to make, it's like almost like taking out a car and buying a car before you test drive it.
But if you have sex with them beforehand, you're never going to be sure about them.
I don't know. That doesn't make any sense, though.
Because sex clouds your judgment of the person. You become addicted, you become emotional, and you think that this is the person you want, but it's based on sex. It's based on that emotional feeling.
Yeah, but you were saying earlier how that wears off after a while, right? Yeah, so if you get the time, take the time to get to know them, you have sex, and then you wait time after that, so you make sure you kind of get over the honeymoon phase and things like that, and all the emotional stuff. Then you can really see if you want to marry that person.
You're saying that get to know them, have sex with them, and then marry them, right?
Yeah, if you feel like they're the right person for you, yes.
No, that doesn't work.
I've seen it work in so many marriages and they don't get divorced.
Those men and women who get married and they already have had sex, the men are catching hell. And the women are too in the marriage.
Not always, I don't think so.
Well, there are always exceptions to the rule, of course. Not all, but most. But the men are catching pure hell, and the women are too, because it was based on sex and not real love.
Well, I don't think just because you have sex doesn't mean the relationship was based on sex, right? It could be based on love, but sex was just had during the relationship before marriage.
But if they loved one another, they wouldn't have sex before marriage.
How so?
Because when you love someone, you respect them. And a man would respect a woman not to take advantage of her. He would
why would it be taking advantage if it's a mutual exchange? You both love each other and you're both attracted to each other and you want to explore your sexuality with one another. Wouldn't that be, that's not taking advantage, is it?
Yes, it is, because men are stronger than women, and they're taking advantage of the woman by having sex with her before marriage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
All right, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Support me on Patreon. Social media links are in the description box down below, as well as merch. I know you want to buy that sexy t-shirt. And I'll see you next time, bro.